Hi, Counting Sheep here, and the lighting isn't great in here, so I'm hoping that you will be able to see me okay and that it won't be too distracting. So, I am going to show you, I've started doing decorating eggs, Batik eggs, and I did that last year and showed some of the eggs and the stone eggs. And I don't have the stone eggs here in Oregon with me, but I've started batiking eggs again, and so I thought that I would show you some of the eggs and the process that I use. And I'll start with the process, and then I'll show you some of the eggs. And these are some of the odds and ends that I use. And inside of this bag are some Q-tips and some tongs. You can see the tongs there. And a black Sharpie, some beeswax, and a plastic glove and a lighter. So I'll pull each of those things out and tell you how I use them. With the batiking eggs, you put on your color in layers. I guess with any kind of eggs you do that, but you have to go from lighter to darker, and a lot of that style of egg, like the Ukrainian style egg, often uses the black as the last color. So I have some that are black, but I also have some that I just do in a monochromatic theme that just kind of gets darker and darker as I go. But the black Sharpie can help if some of the egg doesn't take to the darker dyes. It's good to hold the egg with a glove. If you look on YouTube, you can find some great videos on doing these eggs, but some people will use a tissue to hold the egg. It slips out of my hands too easily, so I find that a plastic glove is a little bit easier. If you don't use a glove, you're going to find that a lot of wax build up from working with the egg and the waxes, and also from your fingers, the oils will get on the ends because you're holding it so much, and it will keep it from taking color, so that's why you use some protection. That's beeswax. It smells wonderful, and you can see that there's a little chunk out of it. Looks like I bit it off, but I didn't. But I'm going to show you some kistkas in a moment, and you scoop the beeswax into the kistka and let it melt, and that's what you use to draw on your candles with, or your eggs with. You use a candle to heat it up. But here's the tongs, some little tongs, and I was really glad to find these because they're just the right size for the egg, and they're not so big that you can't get it in and out of the mason jar. So the colors come from, I buy them from a place called Best Pizanske, I think is how it's said. I'm not sure. Pizanske, I'm not sure what the stress is. PYSANSKY.com, bestpizanske.com. And they have all of these great dyes, and I'll show you the dyes later. So inside of this bag are Q-tips, and you can see the pin, the safety pin. So I poke the egg, and I like to blow out the eggs before I decorate them. More professional people will blow them later after they've put a coating on it. I think of like a shellac or lacquer on them, and let it dry, because then the egg is stronger. But I have broken too many eggs doing that, so I do it before, and then I put wax on each end while I'm coloring it so that it doesn't fill up with dyes. I learned that the hard way. So this little bag of Q-tips is for the dye colors. If you don't want to get a dye all over the whole egg, the Q-tips can be very helpful, because then you can just dab them in the color and keep putting it on keep applying it to the egg if you just have a few spots of color that you want. So that's what the Q-tips are for. I'll just play with that bag for a minute. Hopefully create a nice calming sound and effect with that. Okay, those are the Q-tips. And then lastly, inside of my bag is a lighter. So I light the candle, and then I hold the kishka over the candle flame to warm it and to warm the wax. All right, now I'll show you the kishkas and another kind of wax. Okay, so inside of this, you can see I got this from that place. Oh, well, I think it's too small for you to see, but anyway, I'll just play with that. It's got bubble wrap inside. And there are several kishkas inside. So I'll show you how they work. They're color-coded blue, and then the very bottom of it is also blue, so that's how you can tell which bag to put it in easily. That's the medium tip. And then we've got the red, which is the heavier tip, so it lets a lot more wax drip through it. But it's kind of hard to tell looking at the tips. They all look so small, so it's nice that they color code the back of them. Here's a couple more. That one's stuck to it, so there we go. That's the fine tip. So I like to outline. I'll show you an egg where I did some fine outlining, and I'm just starting to get a little bit better at keeping my hands still while I do it, but it is an adjustment. This is called a drop pull. It has just a metal tip on it that's kind of round, and there's two ends. Let's see, I'll pull it out. There are two ends, and I don't know how to work these yet. I've tried to play with them. I've tried to watch videos on how to use them, but I have not had luck with them. Some of you out there may have used them. A drop pull. So you can see the tip of it, kind of it has a rounded nose to it. I don't know, rounded tip. And then there's a much smaller rounded tip. I don't think the camera's focusing on that too well, but somehow you get it warm, dip in the wax, and then do a dab and pull it. And it creates a really cool effect. And there are people who just create eggs with the drop pull. And I'll show you one of the dyes, Batik Egg dye. And this one's red. And you can see it's a powder. And so I use mason jars. You want about a pint and the wider top for the mason jars so that you can get the egg in and out pretty easily. And I pour in a tablespoon of vinegar, and then boiling water, about 8 ounces, and then the dye, and stir it. And that's kind of like a typical egg dye, but these are much more vivid in color the longer you leave them in, so they're great coloring. They're not good if you're going to consume the eggs, but if you're just using them for decoration, they're pretty great. Okay, so there's that. And then I'll just show you a kishka close up. Now, you can get them with a plastic handle. This is a bamboo handle. This is the medium tip, the blue. And I'll hold it up so you can see it's very black because I hold it over the candle flame. And you warm it up. And when you first begin doing it, you've got to hold it over the flame for a while to get it pretty hot. And then you fill it up. You can see this little tip here, and then this is the side where you put in the wax. You scoop it, or you can get little wax strips, and I'm going to show you those in a moment. The strips are really easy and clean because you just stick it right inside, and then this is usually hot enough that you just fold it over, bend, and it melts right in. So that's kind of nice. And then you hold it over the flame, get it warm, and then you hold your egg and just draw your design on it. I do color the egg with pencil first, or draw on the pencil first so that I know exactly what guidelines, and it rubs off with the wax. When you melt off the wax at the end, the pencil comes off, so it's a good way to do it. I'm not experienced enough to do it any other way. Here is a little bag of strip wax, and inside of it are little dark beeswax strips. This is what I was talking about that you put right inside the kistkas. So it goes right in that little barrel, and then you fold it over and it melts in. And what's nice about these black ones is because it's that dark beeswax, when you draw on the egg, it's so much easier to see where you've put the color. And you can just put all kinds of designs on there and see it. And then what you do is you do it in a progression from light to dark. And there are dye charts that you can see which colors you should use before, so that you don't get a brown when you want to have a red, and that sort of thing. So when you're doing an egg with progression, you have to kind of pay attention to the order of colors. But you do the lightest color first. So let's say I wanted to have white on the egg. Maybe now's a good time to get out the eggs to show you. So I'm going to put this wax away. It's much easier than the big bar. But the big bar is nice if you're, like we had a party last year where we were all making these eggs, and the bars were kind of nice too because everybody could reach over and get those. So here's my egg box. Got a nice sound to it, some texture. Great. Okay, now I'm going to open it up and I'll pull out some of my eggs. And this is the first one I started with this year. These are not as detailed, and my hand is not as steady is maybe a better way to say it. There's some detail on there, but my hand is not as steady. But you can see this has just white, and sunflower is the color of the gold, and then black is the final. So I just used the two colors on this, and then the white egg creates a third color. So I would do the color in over the white first, so that it's protected obviously from the dye, and then I would dye it in the yellow till it was the desired color, and then I color over the yellow. So I would color these little teardrops all around with the wax so that the yellow is protected. And then once I'm done with that, then I dye it in the black. So that's kind of fun. Here is a light green and orchid colored. I just kind of did a paisley. I don't know if you can see. The paisley has two tones of green on it. So I did a progression with the green on this egg, but it's kind of probably difficult to see with the camera. But I'll just kind of twist that egg around, and it's got the purple and the green and little dots around by the leaves. So there's that one. This is a single color progression, which I like, and I did this one in turquoise. You can kind of see that there's different levels of color on the turquoise. This is light turquoise. I did some white outline. I don't know that that will show up, but that's kind of a fun little design. And you can also work in the decoration on the bottom. There's the hole in the egg, so you might find that there's something you want to cover that with and color it or fill it with a wax after you've melted off the colors too. But I usually fill it with wax while I'm coloring it. All right, I'll show you my black and white eggs, and then I'll end with my favorite one, which is red. It's another single color progression. Here's one that I did with just black and white. So I just outlined the white. There's a little gray on there. I did a progression of the black, but I don't know that that will pick up on the camera either. And this one I did decorate the bottom and the top of the egg so that I worked the little holes into the design. So there's that one. Little daisies all over. And then I really like this bold black and white. I thought that the bold colors came out nicely on this one. So I want to play with that again and play with that some more. And then I just did 3 different designs on this egg. You can kind of see the bottom. And the top I made into kind of this, I don't know, sunflowery type of look. And the design kind of progresses, and then there's this little polka dot flower design on that side, and then kind of a leaf pattern over here. So that's the black and white. I saw some of those online, and that made me want to play with black and white eggs. And the last one, and maybe I'll tap on this egg a little bit. This is my favorite one. It's with reds. I think I used poppy was the color, and I'll just turn it slowly. There's a lot more detail on this one, so I'm kind of proud of that because I'm getting a little better at the detail. Hopefully that will come through. And then again, I played with design on the bottom. And there's, that was the top, sorry, this is the bottom. And you can kind of see that I played with some swirls and things on the bottom. So once you're done with all the colors that you want on your egg, like this one is a progression of different pinks and reds, but it all was with one dye. I just dipped it in, and then I covered the next color, and then dipped it in longer. And once you get the desired, I guess once you're done with all the wax covering everything, then you hold it over something, a heating element. I use the gas stove. Both places that I lived had gas stoves, so I use the gas stove, and you don't want to hold it right onto the flame, but you hold it really close to the flame and kind of move it until you see the wax start to bubble up and drip, and then I just take a paper towel and wipe it off, and then I turn it and I melt it a little more. And it's so much fun to see the design come out when you're done. It's like, wow. You're imagining what it's going to look like, but it's always still such a surprise. At least for me, I'm very new at it. When you are done. So I'll just tap on this a little bit, and then that's it. I had someone ask, I wanted to know how I came to ASMR, so maybe I'll tell you about that a little bit while I'm tapping on this egg. It was the summer before last, was looking for relaxation videos to relax, to go to sleep, because relaxing and getting to sleep is not easy for me. That's a challenge. They are a challenge. So I was looking for one, and then I saw this ASMR relaxation video, and I can't even remember what the first one was. And I do remember it was hands, but I don't remember who or much about it. And it seemed so strange to me at first. I was like, what is this? But I did notice that I kind of got this little chill, I call it the fuzz. I kind of fuzzed over and relaxed. I thought, well, that's kind of cool. So I checked out another one. So I sent my sister a link. We're always sharing videos and affirmations and all that stuff. So I sent her a link, and I said, this is kind of different. I don't know. What do you think? Well, she sent me back a thing saying, well, it's just too weird for me. I don't know. I don't get it. I think it's just bizarre. And then a week later, she sent me a bunch of links to ASMR videos, and she's like, I really like this. It's really cool. So we both started really getting into it and sharing some of our favorites. And then it was just probably 2 months of watching them, and I thought, I would love to play with this. I think I have all these stones, and I think I started with playing with my crystals and stones, and I didn't do any personal contact. What do they call it? Personal, I can't think of the right words, but anyway, it's not personal contact. Anyway, and I didn't do any of my face in them. I just talked and used my crystals and played with that. So then little by little I thought, I'm going to play with role play. But I didn't want to do role play as me. Like a lot of times you'll see someone be a librarian, and it's just really that ASMR artist being a librarian. But I wanted to play with kind of a role play within a role play. So that's when I started to play with Margene and Jenny Jane, so that they were role playing while they were doing something. And that's when I started to develop those characters. So right now I just have the 3 characters. I have Serena, I have Jenny Jane, and Margine. And then I really like to do affirmation videos and meditation, or I guess they're guided meditation videos, and then relaxation videos. Those are all things that I love to do because I get to feel like I'm really communicating with you on the other side, and that's very joyous for me. It feels good to me, and I get some really wonderful responses from people that makes it feel really worthwhile. So I hope our Bickle, I think that's who it was that requested it, and I'm probably saying that wrong. I hope that this was what you wanted. I shared a little bit about what brought me to ASMR, and then I fell in love with it. I fell in love with watching it. I fell in love with making it, and it's not always easy to find the right time and space and lighting and equipment and to do it, but whenever I can, I like to. So that's my story. I hope you have a great night. Thanks for stopping by.